Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here. In today's video, I'll be talking about the matchup against the Detroit Lions and how it's very personal for the Washington Commanders, a couple players as well, also the ownership group, some of the coaching staff, the front office, and this crazy rumor that came out yesterday about Ben Johnson that I want to talk about at the end of the video. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well so you never miss a video. Please, please, please try and hit 15K subscribers by the end of the month. It's going to be tough, but I know we can do it. So hit that button. It is free. So let's get right into it. I'm sure all y'all know last year, a lot of people thought, including myself, that Ben Johnson would be the next head coach of the Washington Commanders. And, when things went south, a lot of people were upset. I was, but, worked out in the end for the Commanders really, really well, better than it could have, we could have ever imagined with even Ben Johnson. They went from 4 to 12 wins, 13 wins if you count the playoff win. And the Commanders officials were en route to Detroit for a meeting with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn when they got the word that Johnson was staying with the Lions per sources. While the abrupt pivot by Johnson was considered surprising by several league sources, he was not he was not considered a lock for the Commander's job despite his strong reputation as blah, blah, blah. So it was just a lot of people were upset at, the Commanders themselves. And then also, fans were upset that, the guy cancels the interview right as you're on your way to do it. And obviously they were still going there to interview Aaron Glenn. So it's not like they had to they had to cancel the whole trip, but it's still, preparation. Adam Peters has to prepare for the interview, when he's asking the questions, looking at his background, seeing what he wants to ask, what he wants to test him on. So it's not a great move by Ben Johnson, not a good look for him, for sure. But hey, it is what it is. It was his decision, but it's something that, definitely didn't sit right with the Commanders and Adam Peters and stuff like that. And that's something that I don't think they're going to forget. And I don't think, Josh Harris and Magic Johnson are going to forget. There was some, Mark Ian and all the other guys too. This report came out that Ben Johnson was turned off by the Commanders ownership group for being basketball guys, and it was part of the reason why he turned the job down last year. Johnson also thought they were too confident in their football judgment and their knowledge. Well, maybe they were, but hey, guess what? It worked out. They got 13 wins in their first year, and they're playing y'all in the second round of the playoffs. So I like the approach that Josh Harris, Bob Myers had when they were looking for their guy. And Josh Harris, once he picked a guy, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, he let them do the work. And obviously, he's going to ask questions and stuff, which you should if you're making that big of an investment into a team. Six, whatever it was, the total team value is like 6-7 billion. So you're obvious, and it's going to keep going up, especially if they win and just over time the team, NFL goes up in value. But you're going to want to ask questions and see what's happening. So whatever, Ben Johnson's his decision, but I definitely think it's going to be a little bit personal this week between Ben Johnson and the Commanders. And it's not just, and I'm sure the players heard this too, like going, the players that were on the team, because there's a lot of new guys, obviously. The players that were on the team did hear about like, okay, Ben Johnson maybe was, a lot of people were saying he's a lock to be on the Commanders, and then he cancels a flight, see this stuff here. But some of the other stuff that happened, just the not beef between the Commanders and the Lions, and I might make a whole separate video on this, but like Amon-Ra St. Brown, I mean, he just yaps and yaps and yaps on his podcast, which whatever, he can do what he wants. He has his podcast, but I don't know. It wasn't on his podcast, actually. I was thinking it was, but it was after game against the Commanders. It was Commander versus the Lions, or might have been Washington football team at that point. I don't know. Was it 2021, 2022? Whatever. It doesn't matter. The Lions beat the Commanders, or whatever they were called at that point. And St. Brown had a good game, I think. And De'Ami Brown didn't have a good game. And then he was like, oh, yeah, I remember who was drafted above me. And if I remember correctly, I don't think number 2 had any catches in this game or something like that. It's just like, you don't have to bring a fellow player down that didn't do anything to you. He didn't say anything about you. he didn't have control where he was like drafted. Like he's clearly got drafted over you for a reason, but that's not like he had any effect on where you got drafted. So to single him out and kind of put him down after a game is just not the best move. And I believe a week after that he had like 107 or Diami had 125 yards. But hey, Diami had a good week last week, had a touchdown, 89 yards on 5 catches, on 5 targets, and drew a PI. This is a big game for Diami, and this is clear bulletin board material. This is clear bulletin board material, and I think that, he should definitely be extra motivated going into this game against the Detroit Lions. It's definitely personal with him, and he needs to, it would be great if he has a big game. It would be great if he has a big game and St. Brown doesn't, because, again, I don't know. It's not a big deal. He can say whatever he wants, but, it's just, it's not the nicest thing to say, but whatever. I think, Diami should have a good week, maybe the number 2 receiver on the team this week against the Lions. And then this is what I wanted to talk about, was this rumor with, it was actually on Rio's channel. Shout out to Rio. It was on his channel this past week, a couple of days ago on his stream with Juan, and but this was with Lake Lewis on his video recently on Rio's channel, and he was, basically you can watch the whole clip on Rio's channel, but this is what Brandon summarized. He said Lions OC Ben Johnson wanted former Commanders quarterback Sam Howell to be the team's QB, in which Adam Peters told Johnson that he was drafting a QB. Adam Peters made the decision to turn that plan around, canceling the interview. So I don't know how much of this is true. I mean, obviously they didn't turn the plan around because they were going to Detroit anyways to interview Aaron Glenn. So I don't know if that was like a I don't know if he was just, an expression or whatever he wanted to say there. I'm not completely sure what's, with that, because, obviously Adam Peters did not turn the plan around, but he could just be making a metaphor or whatever. I'm not good with my English terms or whatever, but metaphor, hyperbole, I don't know, whatever. But it could be the case, or maybe he's just, his source is saying something different. I don't know. And then the other thing, which is more interesting, is that Ben Johnson wanted Sam Howell over Jayden Daniels, and I can believe that because, Sam Howell's a UNC guy. Ben Johnson was as well. I more believe, though, that Ben Johnson would want Drake May, who is also a fellow UNC guy and is a, he's going to be a top 3, top 4 pick, and, you have the number 2 pick. So that's kind of what I would think with Ben Johnson. So I'm not saying Lake Lewis is wrong or he's lying or anything, because, I don't know who's telling him this, what sources he has, and it's definitely believable for sure. So I could see that with Ben Johnson wanting Sam Howell or maybe Drake May over Jayden Daniels, and Adam Peters has had a vision for the team, and he was like, you know what, I want Jayden Daniels, and he brought in people who were fine with that or really agreed with that, like, Cliff Kingsbury, who really liked Jayden Daniels from the jump. So that's just something to consider there, some more extra beef. And honestly, maybe, because Lake Lewis is, big time reporter, maybe, and, he definitely has sources, maybe a source from the Commanders or something is putting that out there and giving it to Lake Lewis so he can feed it out and give some extra motivation to Jayden Daniels this week. You know what? This OC on the other squad, he picked, he wanted Sam Howell. He wanted Drake May over me. So that's another possibility as well. And, maybe that can rally the whole team around. I mean, the team's going to see this. The team is going to see this. This tweet alone has 1.3 million views. 1.3 million views. So they're going to see this. Shout out Rio for getting this. But yeah, they will see it. So it's just a matter of Jayden sees it, and I'm sure someone's going to tell him about it, and it'll fuel him for sure. He's not a guy that's going to get rattled by this or anything. He doesn't get rattled. So it's, can only help in my opinion. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. So it's personal this week against Detroit. It would be great if they can get a win against the Detroit Lions at Ford Field. I'm not saying they will. I think there's a chance though, for sure, when you got JD5 back there. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.